Damn! What's up, guys? Welcome back to another MMA breakdown, and this is UFC 200. One of the biggest fight cards in UFC history, stacked to top to bottom. Brutality came on tonight, baby. You look at it this way. You had Cain Velasquez fighting Travis Browne, and Travis Browne trains out of the same training camp that Ronda Rousey does, and I think ever since he's been there, he hasn't done that great. And this is the Cain Velasquez of old. You know, he came in there shooting double legs, grounding and pounding, standing, pressuring the action, and dominated the fight. Won in the first round. Then you had the Daniel Cormier fight. He did nothing that impressed me. He laid and prayed and basically held Anderson down. And these two guys, looking at them side by side, Anderson Silva looked significantly smaller. And when Anderson Silva was landing some punches and kicks, he was doing good. And in the end of the third round, Anderson Silva had DC rocked, but all DC was able to do was hold him up against the cage, and that was it. But for only being in there for 2 days, only knowing about this fight for 2 days, Anderson Silva stepped up like a man and threw down, and I think he did pretty well for what he could able to do on the stand-up. You know, on the ground, he's kind of like a fish out of water. Even though he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, he really didn't do much. He barely got hit. So that fight was kind of lackluster. It was a bullshit fight, pretty much. The crowd was booing, and they were booing because nothing was going on. And then you get to the fight that everybody came to see. It was the Brock Lesnar fight. And the Brock Lesnar fight went kind of weird for me because when you first start the fight, Brock Lesnar's bouncing around, throwing punches, landing some kicks, and even Joe Rogan goes, ooh, he threw a kick. It was a hard kick. And Brock Lesnar looked freakishly big in this fight, like humongous. Like, he looked like twice the size of Mark Hunt. Like, they looked like they were in two completely different weight classes. And if you go back and watch the fight, in the very beginning, Mark Hunt is kind of pacing back and forth, right? And he goes, you can see him take some deep breaths, like he was kind of nervous. And Brock Lesnar has a 81-inch reach, and Mark Hunt has a 70-inch reach. So there's almost like 11 inches difference, and Mark Hunt can never get close enough to land one of his bomb strikes. So Brock Lesnar took him down in the first round, landed a shit ton of ground and pound, and Brock Lesnar was beating the hell out of this dude, and this dude finally gets up. And for the people who said, well, Mark Hunt has great wrestling defense, like he has the ability to pop back up, he does not have that ability against a high-level wrestler like Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was just dominating. The first round was completely dominated by Brock Lesnar. The second round, I don't know, there was really no action whatsoever. Then you go into the third round, and Brock Lesnar was able to take him down, get in the mount position, and land some more punches. And is Brock Lesnar still going to fight in the UFC? I don't know. Was he impressive? It showed he could wrestle somebody to the ground and land some punches. That's what it showed me. I think that's why they didn't have him fight somebody like Cain Velasquez, because they knew Cain could give it to Brock. And Mark Hunt has shown with high-level wrestlers he can't do much. Or a high-level grappler, he can't do much. All his losses are by submission or like being on the ground. But Brock Lesnar, not that impressive. I wasn't surprised of how the fight went. I was like, he's going to do the same thing he did to Frank Mir, the same thing he did to Shane Carwin, the same thing he did to Heath Herring, take him down and ground and pound. And then you had Amanda Nunes versus Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate got clipped and rocked and beat. And that's crazy to me that she lost. And it's crazy to me when you look at this fight how many champions have there been since the champion lost? Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was the champion. Then it went to Holly Holmes. Then the Miesha Tate. And now Amanda Nunes. And that's crazy. Is it like the... If you look at the heavyweight championship, only the belt has been defended twice. No more than twice. Ever since the UFC had the title. The bantamweight title, besides Ronda Rousey, has only been defended... Actually, never. They've never defended it. They win the belt and they lose it. So maybe Amanda Nunes' next fight, she'll lose. So then you have the Kat Zingano fight, which Kat Zingano loses. If I'm not mistaken, Kat Zingano wins by choke. I'm not really 100% sure on that fight because I'm not thinking clearly. Because I can't remember exactly how that fight went. But overall, UFC 200 was a pretty damn good fight card. I'll say I went 3-5, okay? And I picked Frankie Edgar to beat Jose because I thought Jose Aldo was going to come in nervous and not look at himself. But he didn't even look gassed out. He looked more muscular, more in shape. He was doing more counter striking. Never really threw a leg kick. What Joe Rogan was saying, he was trying to do the same thing that Conor did to Jose when Frankie would run in with his punches. He was trying to land like a big left and knock him out. But that was a pretty good fight. It was a 5-round fight. Frankie Edgar, his punches weren't always landing, and the punches of Jose were more devastating. So now you're going to have Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor 2. And if this Jose Aldo fights the way he did in this fight against the Conor McGregor that's going to be fighting him whenever the hell it is, if he can still make the weight, will probably do pretty damn good. I was impressed with his ability to not gas out because, in the past, this dude has gone 5 rounds and looked horrible in like the 4th and 5th round. But it's like Joe Rogan said, this dude, maybe the best thing for him was to get his ass knocked out by Conor, and it rejuvenated him, made him more excited, made him more alive. Like, yeah, I got something to fight for. I'm going to come out there and dominate. Because before that, maybe because he won 10 years in a row, he wasn't motivated anymore. That's how I felt. He was not motivated. I think that's the same thing with Anderson Silva winning 16 fights in a row. He wasn't really motivated anymore to completely dominate. Same thing with GSP when he was fighting. He didn't feel really motivated when he was just winning like 10 fights in a row. But I think he has the ability to beat Conor in a second fight. And I don't know what you say about I don't really know what you say about Jon Jones. He was caught on steroids or drugs again, and he didn't look great in his last fight. Or I should say, he didn't go for broke or do anything crazy. Where does this set him? If he gets caught, and he would be out for 2 years. They say he could be out for another 2 years. So that means he would come back in 2018 if he gets out. So by that time, is he going to be the same guy? Because he would be like 28 now, 29, 30. He'll be 30 years old. And the game's going to pass that guy up. He's already was out for a year and a half. So, I don't know, man. I think the sport's going to pass this guy up. Yes, he's one of the greatest guys of all time. But like Daniel Cormier said, I have to brush him off and not worry about him anymore. I'm the man. Maybe we thought we saw the guy that was like, yeah, he wasn't on drugs. He's not caught anymore. He's not doing anything. But when you think he's bulking up and lifting like 500-pound dead squats, that's saying something. When the dude's like notoriously comes out and tells you, well, I've never really bench pressed or really worked out really hard. And now that he gets caught, is it kind of weird that he was posting all that stuff on social media about him getting ripped, him getting yoked, and now he's like, oh, I haven't been working out in a while like that. But if you have not seen the fights, you can go to the link in the description box that will take you to the full fights. It's MMA link or MMA. There's MMAlinker.com or MMAcore.com. I don't know how good the quality is or if the fights will be up there, but usually they put the fights up there and it's usually like 360p quality. But you can't complain because it's a free quality fight. But Daniel Cormier was not impressive. He looked significantly bigger than Silva, but I think with a full training camp, and maybe the reason why Silva didn't look good is because Silva's not the same guy he was when he was the champion and beating everybody, you know. But what he was capable of doing after 2 days' notice was pretty good. I mean, he has a skill set. He didn't gas out, but he almost had the fight won if he would have been able to not have Daniel hold him up against the cage in the last 20 seconds. He would have definitely won that fight because he was landing some punches, and even Rogan said he looked very wobbly. Daniel Cormier looked like he got rocked. So, let me know what you guys think. Was it a great night of fights? Were you surprised what Brock Lesnar was capable of doing? Or were you like, oh, yeah, I knew Brock Lesnar was going to win.